What's up, family? Thanks for clicking. Appreciate it. I'm about to go on vacation. Life is lit and I could not be happier. But every time I do, I always feel like I'm wasting opportunities to improve myself as an artist, especially as an up-and-coming artist who needs to be constantly grinding because I'm creating a business and stuff like that. But if you're anything like I was a few years ago and you just have this strong desire to improve your art and to improve your drawing in a really quick way, there is no better way, I promise, no better way than what we're doing in this video. So stick with me to the end, leave a comment if you learned a thing or two, and I'll see y'all then. Alright, y'all, we're jumping right in with this one. This project is not even a project, honestly. This is one of my truer YouTube videos. This is just a true documentation of what I usually do in a practice I've been doing for years, which has been incredibly helpful for me and for my art practice in general, whether it's drawing, painting, or anything. This exercise is the single greatest exercise I think I could recommend to anybody. And if it's not clear by now, that exercise is just pure public sketching. Not for any purpose, not even to be posted. This is the first time I'm posting this sketchbook, which is dedicated to public sketching. If you're doing public sketching right, you're doing it as a practice for yourself. You're doing it as a way to improve your art skills. And as you can see immediately already, these drawings are quick, they're short, they're very rough. And that's kind of the purpose of it. There's not a lot of erasing. It's mostly just find the form as quickly as you can, refine the form to the best of your abilities, and then use some of your creative artistry to kind of fill in the things that you missed, because inevitably you will miss some things. The biggest part about this and the reason why it is such a good practice is because you're jumping right into the deep end. If you have minimal art skills and you can learn to draw in public when you're drawing people who aren't models, who aren't posing for you but are living their everyday lives, who are fidgeting, who are moving, just being humans, if you can do that, you can draw models, you can draw still lifes, you can draw sketches for paintings. All sketching and drawing will be easier after you work on public sketching. Techniques you learn from public sketching is like anatomy skills and understanding the human body, but also drawing by memory and just kind of being able to look at something and then quickly put it on your paper before looking back up again. That's super helpful in all forms of art, to be able to see something once and then to map it out on your paper. But anyways, let's jump into some of the more specific techniques I use as a public sketcher to help my public sketching drawings be better than they once were a few years ago when I started. The first of that is just understanding priorities. When sketching like this, you have to know what you need to focus on first, and some things can wait till the end while others definitely cannot. If you wait till the end to do the face and they move, there's no luck getting the face right. Maybe you can guess the hands, but when people look at a drawing, they always look at the person's face, the thing that they will identify and recognize first. So you need a face that is somewhat recognizable, at least in shape. You don't need facial features, but you need the brim of the nose, you need the lips, you need the chin. If it's a man, his beard, or a woman's hair, you need those to be accurate, and then everything else will be more believable. Now, while I sit here whipping out my sketchbook and stuff, I look around the room to try and pick a subject. What makes a good public sketching subject? The biggest thing is obviously stillness, because while we're working on drawing people who aren't models, at the same time, it is impossible to draw someone who walks by you and are only in your frame of sight for 5 seconds. You need someone who's going to be there at least a couple minutes and who ideally are holding somewhat of a pose. Someone working at a cashier register, for example, or someone reading a book, those make good subjects for public sketching. Secondly, this process, and I'm sure some of you guys are already thinking about this right now, can feel extremely creepy. Just whipping out a sketchbook, drawing, and you're staring at someone because you have to see what they look like to draw them, right? And especially for me, because I kept holding the camera up and I had to get a shot of them so I could show you guys what they look like. It is creepy, but at the end of the day, once you get over the embarrassment factor, it is not a big deal. And I promise you, I've had a bunch of interactions with people, and as long as they know you're drawing something and not just staring at them, most people are super cool with it. And in fact, they're often interested to see how you're drawing. It's not a big deal. People do not care, but it's more in your head than it will be in theirs. Alright, y'all, so we're back from the trip, and I think it was pretty successful. I liked the drawings. I like how they turned out. I definitely learned a lot from them. It was slightly awkward trying to capture a little video of them so you could see what they look like, so you didn't just go strictly based off what I was drawing, but you actually had a personal opinion about what they looked and how my drawings turned out relative to how they looked. But it was awkward to hold the camera up and try and get a little shot of them. I always tried to do it from like a pretty good distance so I wasn't right up in someone's face just staring at them while drawing. But yeah, a little bit awkward, but I definitely learned a lot from it, and this is one of my favorite activities. But in this sketchbook, I've never taken it a step further, and I was thinking, why not, for the sake of the video, take it one step further now that I'm back and refine the lines a little bit and add some watercolor. So I think that's a good idea. I'm ready to jump into it, try and make it a cooler, more finished product. This sketchbook and these drawings are strictly for learning, but why not learn how to turn a true drawing of a stranger in public into a finished drawing and not just into a practice drawing? So I think I want to do that. Let's jump right in. Now, I definitely had some reservations before doing watercolor because, as I said, I've had this sketchbook for a long time. This is a practice I've been doing for a long time, and I've never taken it a step further within this sketchbook. I've never actually used watercolor over pencil before. Every time I do watercolor, it's in this specific watercolor sketchbook I have that only uses pen and then goes straight to watercolor. So I didn't know how the watercolor and the pencil would interact, but in the end it ended up being all right. It creates kind of a misty, dirty type feel to the paper where you've watercolored, and that's all right. I wasn't mad at that. The way I watercolored though is pretty simple. I only used 2 layers. The first layer just to get coverage, and then the second layer to create shadows, deeper shadows in certain areas, and then I omit some parts in the second layer to create highlights in those areas. But it ends up being very simple. And at this point I thought I was going to go over everything in pen to refine the whole drawing, but I decided not to. I kind of like the dirtier feeling on these drawings because that's kind of the vibe I'm going for, which is just a quick drawing. You can see the time next to all these drawings. I often leave notes and times next to the drawings just so when I look back on it I know, like, oh, this drawing looked amazing, but I spent 20 minutes because the person didn't move at all, versus this drawing looks kind of bad, but it's not because I did poorly, but just because they moved after 4 or 5 minutes. I didn't write the times for the watercolor, but the watercolor doubled, maybe tripled the time for each of these drawings, but it still wasn't very long whatsoever. A lot of that is just waiting for the colors to dry. What I got really lucky about though is the drawings I ended up putting with each other on these pages tend to have like a color theme to them, and I was really happy with that. That's just based on the videos that I took for YouTube. That's what I was getting my colors from. I looked back at the videos to try and mimic the clothing the people were wearing to get the watercolor accurate to what they were actually wearing. It just so happened that the clothes that the people were wearing happened to be similar colors to the other people who shared a drawing page with them. So that was kind of sweet. By this point, I kind of ran into an emergency, and that was I ran out of my white watercolor. White on its own isn't really anything, but you mix it to lighten colors, and I was unable to do that by this point. And so what ended up happening, the only part I really felt that was in the skin tones. I just had to keep going darker and darker, and so some of these white people ended up looking like not so white people, and it just wasn't great, but I'm not too mad about it. In the end, I'm really happy with these drawings. I accomplished what I wanted to accomplish, and I'm happy. So in my book, this was a win. Alright guys, that's all I got for you in this one. Thanks for watching. Thanks for stopping by. I post weekly on Fridays and shorts on Wednesdays, so make sure you're subscribed with the notification bell clicked, and I'll see you guys next week. Peace and love.